Facing the door of fear instead of avoiding it is often the moment when a person discovers who they really are. Imagine standing before a door like the one on Pinehill Road. Its surface cold, its paint chipped, its silence pressing against your heartbeat. Most people turn away the moment they feel that chill crawling up their spine. But turning away doesn't make the fear disappear. It only teaches the fear that it can control you. That door becomes a symbol of every opportunity you didn't take, every dream you convinced yourself wasn't possible, every path you avoided, because the uncertainty on the other side felt too heavy. Fear isn't a wall meant to stop you, it's a doorway meant to be crossed. The truth is, fear doesn't knock loudly. It whispers. It shows up quietly, in hesitation and doubt, in the excuses you repeat so often they sound like facts. Avoiding the door becomes easier each time you walk past it, until it blends into the background of your life like old furniture you no longer notice. Yet deep inside, you feel its presence. You know that something is waiting behind it. Maybe a challenge, maybe growth, maybe the version of yourself you've been too afraid to meet, and that quiet knowing will follow you everywhere, no matter how far you try to run. When you finally decide to face that door, everything changes. The fear doesn't vanish, but it becomes a signal rather than a barrier. Your breath may tremble, your hands may shake, but stepping closer is an act of power. Every inch forward tells your mind that you are willing to confront what you once hid from. You begin to understand that bravery isn't about feeling fearless. It's about standing in front of fear and refusing to be owned by it. As you place your hand on the doorknob, you start to feel the difference between imagined danger and real danger. Most of the time, the fear you've carried was built out of shadows. Memories, insecurities, stories you told yourself about failure before you even tried. The door represents all of it. And yet the moment you touch it, you realize that the silence surrounding it was never meant to scare you. It was waiting for you to decide you're ready. Because fear doesn't move until you do. When the hinges groan and the door begins to open, there's a rush of uncertainty that floods your senses. But inside that uncertainty lies the truth. The only way to discover your strength is to step where comfort cannot follow. Once you cross the threshold, you're no longer the same person who hesitated outside. You're someone who chose action over avoidance, someone who decided that progress matters more than the ghosts of what-ifs. The rooms inside may be dark, the air may be thick, but your presence alone begins to shift everything. Fear has no choice but to retreat when you step forward, because nothing terrifies fear more than a person who refuses to run from the door that once intimidated them. Silence reveals the truths we ignore, and in a place like the silent house on Pinehill Road, that silence becomes almost physical, wrapping itself around every thought you've tried to bury. In the noise of everyday life, it's easy to distract yourself from the things you don't want to face. Your fears, your mistakes, your hidden insecurities. But the moment everything goes quiet, those buried truths begin to rise. Silence has a way of peeling back the layers you've built around your mind, exposing the worries you pretend not to have, and the emotions you convince yourself you're too strong to feel. It doesn't accuse you or judge you, it simply reflects what you carry. And when you step into that silent space, there is nowhere to run from what you've been avoiding. Inside that silence, even the faintest sound, the creak of a floorboard, the shift in the walls, feels amplified. But what grows louder than anything else is your own inner voice. The voice that you drown out with music, conversations, routines, and business suddenly becomes the only thing you can hear. It speaks the truth about the dreams you abandoned because someone told you they were unrealistic. It whispers about the habits that are holding you back, the moments you should have taken action, but instead chose comfort, the potential you have that you keep pushing aside because stepping into it feels intimidating. Silence doesn't create these truths. It only uncovers them. Most people fear silence because it forces reflection. When you're alone with your thoughts, you can no longer hide behind excuses or distractions. You start to recognize patterns you've been repeating for years. Patterns you may not even realize are controlling your life. In the quiet, you can see where you've settled for less than you deserve or where you've allowed doubt to become your default response. And while that revelation can be uncomfortable, it's also powerful, because you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. The silence in the house acts like a mirror, showing you not your reflection, but the parts of yourself you've kept in the dark. As you walk deeper into that silent space, you begin to feel a shift. The truths you've ignored don't appear to shame you. Instead, they present themselves as reminders of what you're capable of becoming if you stop running from them. The silence becomes a guide, helping you listen to instincts you've suppressed and desires you've been too afraid to pursue. It teaches you that sometimes, the world around you must grow quiet so the world within you can finally be heard. That stillness reveals what truly matters, what needs to be let go, and what deserves your energy. And in that eerie, unsettling calm, you find clarity that noise could never give you. Every shadow represents an unchallenged doubt. And in a place like the silent house on Pinehill Road, those shadows seem to stretch farther than they should, as if they're alive with the very insecurities you've tried to outrun. When you walk through a dim hallway, the darkness around you isn't just the absence of light. It's the embodiment of every hesitation that has ever held you back. Each shape that flickers in the corner of your vision mirrors a thought you've buried, a worry you've convinced yourself doesn't matter, a dream you abandoned because doubt whispered that you weren't ready. These shadows don't appear out of nowhere. They form from the things you haven't confronted. When you try to ignore them, they grow. Doubts always do. They linger in the back of your mind, gaining weight, becoming heavier each time you avoid taking a step forward. In the house, the shadows seem to bend and shift with your movements, reminding you that wherever you go, your doubts follow unless you decide to face them. They are not there to scare you. They are there to signal what still needs your attention. Every shadowed corner is a part of yourself that hasn't been explored, a challenge you've postponed, a fear you've allowed to influence your direction without even realizing it. But as you stand in that uneasy quiet, you begin to understand something important. Shadows lose their power when you bring light to them. The doubts you haven't challenged seem overwhelming only when they're left alone in the dark. The moment you step toward them, the moment you choose to acknowledge their presence, they begin to shrink. Each doubt that once felt like a monster becomes something manageable, something you can understand, something you can rise above. The shadows don't define you, they reveal the places where you are meant to grow. Courage begins with a single step into the unknown. And in a place as unsettling as the silent house on Pinehill Road, that step feels heavier than anything you've taken before. The doorway looms in front of you, thick with silence and coated in dust, as if time itself has been holding its breath. Your pulse quickens, not because of danger, but because of the uncertainty waiting beyond the threshold. It is in that moment, right before you move, when the mind races with possibilities, weaving stories of what could go wrong and what might be hiding in the darkness. And yet, that single step holds more potential than fear ever will. It is the decision to try, to move, to act despite the trembling feeling in your chest. Inside the unknown, nothing is guaranteed. That is what makes it terrifying, but also what makes it transformative. The step into the dark hallway of the house mirrors the steps you take in your own life. When you pursue something bigger than your comfort zone, new beginnings, dreams, challenges, and opportunities all exist in that space where you don't yet have answers. Standing still might feel safer, but safety rarely brings growth. The first step may feel small, almost insignificant, but it breaks the invisible barrier that doubt builds around you. It's the moment where possibility becomes stronger than hesitation. The house itself feels like it watches you as you cross the threshold, not to scare you, but to see whether you truly understand the significance of the moment. Doors, stairs, rooms. Every unknown corner waits silently, offering you a chance to confront yourself. That is the essence of courage, choosing movement, when everything inside you wants to freeze. Each footstep echoes through the house like a reminder that progress doesn't require perfection, only willingness. The darkness around you seems thick at first, but as you keep moving, your eyes adjust. You begin to notice details. Cracks in the walls, dust patterns on the floor, old frames tilted on the surface. What was once frightening becomes familiar simply because you dared to walk forward. The unknown challenges your assumptions, and pushes you to expand your understanding of who you are. When you navigate a space you've never walked before, you learn that your fear is often rooted in imagination, not reality. The creaks and whispers of the house might startle you, but as you continue, you realize that they are nothing more than the house settling, the air moving, your mind sharpening. The unknown becomes clearer with each step, proving that courage doesn't erase fear. It moves with it, reshaping the way you experience it. And in that dim, unsettling quiet, you begin to discover parts of yourself that would have stayed hidden if you had refused to take that first step.